Hello and welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to a weekend previewing all of this weekend's Premier League and Championship action, starting off on Saturday lunchtime in the Premier League with West Ham versus Chelsea. And yeah, I can't wait for this one. West Ham's form has obviously been a bit shaky since the international break. Chelsea were far from their best against Watford but got the job done. So yeah, this game really could go either way, but yeah, it's the sort of against Chelsea where the champions would grind out a win in these really tough fixtures, and I think that's exactly what Chelsea will do. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on, Newcastle take on Burnley at St James's Park, and this is a big game for both sides. Newcastle obviously 1-1 draw against Norwich, obviously mixed feelings with a red card, and Wolves a solid point last time out against Burnley. They're the draw specialists, and yeah, I don't think there's much stopping another draw here, to be honest. These sides are so evenly matched, both teams will be terrified to lose, so yeah, let's see which way it goes. But I'm going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will be incredibly cautious. But moving on, Southampton host Brighton at St Mary's. And yeah, this is an interesting game. Southampton, obviously, they're not in the greatest form since the international break. 2 losses and 1 draw. And Brighton, they're unbeaten in a long time as well. Haven't won since the end of September, which is quite incredible considering the start of the season they had. So they really need a win here, as do Southampton. So yeah, it'll be an intriguing game to see which one can try and rediscover their form. But I've got a feeling neither will. I think it will end up being a draw. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on, Wolves host Liverpool at Molineux. And Wolves, their form's interesting. 2 draws in a row, and probably 2 games they would have wanted to win, so I think they'll be quite disappointed with that. But Liverpool 4 wins on the trot now in all comps, and yeah, a dominant win last time out against Everton, so they'll be coming into this one full of confidence. And Wolves, yeah, maybe they'll need a win here, but obviously winning against Liverpool is a lot easier said than done. So I'm going to say a Liverpool win, but I think it'll be a close one. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then, Watford host Man City at Vicarage Road, and for Man City this is a big game. They really need to take advantage. Chelsea and Liverpool, 2 title rivals, have tough games, so this is a big opportunity for Man City to kind of make up some ground really, because it's not implausible a couple of those drop points. And Watford, they're not the finest side in the world, but they did show a good account of themselves last time out. But it's a game you'd expect Man City to win in, and I think they probably will do. So I'm going to say a 2-0 City win. Moving on, Leeds host Brentford at Elland Road, and Leeds, yeah, they're coming to this one obviously on a massive high after that last minute winner against Palace. But for Brentford, a win against Everton last weekend. I'm filming this before the Tottenham game, but I'm going to presume that's a loss because that's my prediction. But yeah, they'll come into this one with confidence off that or not, so it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, I think Leeds on such a high after that one will possibly be able to get the momentum. I'm going to say 1-0 win for Leeds. Moving on, Manchester United to host Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. United, Ralph Rangnick's first game in charge, obviously because he couldn't take charge of the Arsenal game due to the whole visa issues. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what difference that makes, if anything at all, against the Palace side who are slightly out of form. Really gone a bit downhill since the international break. So yeah, this is a big opportunity for Manchester United, and I think they will get the win and get the Ragnick era off for a good start. I'll say 2-0. Moving on, Tottenham host Norwich at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and yeah, Tottenham under Antonio Conte, still a pretty decent start. So yeah, no one's blown it. It's been a very good start actually. They just, some of the performances haven't been too great, but it's just about finding that consistency. And against the Norwich side, who are obviously unbeaten in quite a long time now, 4 games, considering where they are in the table, that's really, really good return. But yeah, this will be a tough one for them. I'm backing Tottenham to get the win here. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on, Villa host Leicester at Villa Park. Villa obviously 2-1 lost to City last time out, didn't embarrass themselves at all, and still had a decent start to life under Steven Gerrard. And Leicester, 2-2 draw against Southampton last time out. Considering the form they've been in prior to that, 2 wins on the trot, I think they would have been wanting a win from that one, but they didn't get it in the end. It'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back here, but against the Gerrard side who are still doing quite well, I think it'll be a tight game, and I'm going to call it a draw. Moving on, Everton host Arsenal at Goodison Park, and yeah, as we all know, Everton are in a bit of a state at the moment. Obviously that 4-1 loss to Liverpool last time out, yeah, they'll be rock bottom of confidence. Rafa Benitez really needs a result, because you do feel like it could get quite toxic quite quickly with all of the history between Benitez and Everton. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But I think Arsenal, they're in a decent place at the moment in general. And Joe, I can see them getting a win here. It will be close, but I think they'll get the win. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on into the Championship, in an absolutely massive game. Fulham v Bournemouth, first versus second. And yeah, it's a massive one, this one. Fulham and Bournemouth, you could say, two draws in the trot for both of them. Fulham, though, in general, come into this one on slightly better form. And yeah, do have a points lead in the table. So it'll be interesting to see if they really go for this and try to go for an advantage, or if they just protect the lead, because we've got a decent gap still, but they don't want that to erode it away. So I think it'll be a draw, 1-1, which will probably suit both sides. But moving on then, Coventry host West Brom at the Coventry Building Society Arena. And yeah, these are two teams who are trying to hunt down Fulham and Bournemouth, you'd have to say. Only 1 point between them. They're 8 points behind though, so it will be quite a challenge. I think for Coventry mainly, it's just about staying in the playoffs. And West Brom, yeah, not been going to plan recently. But I've got a feeling they may get back on track here. I think this is the sort of game where they could turn it around. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on, Barnsley host Huddersfield at Oakwell. And yeah, this is a big game for both sides, really, to be honest. Huddersfield have lost 2 in a row, and they've gone down the pan a bit recently. And Barnsley, they've got 1 point from the last 4, and that was away to Peterborough. So not exactly a high-class opposition. So they really need a result here, as do Huddersfield, to kind of keep their playoff ambitions alive, because they're already 5 points behind. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way this one goes. But I think Huddersfield will have enough here to pick up the win. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then, Blackburn host Preston at Ewood Park. And Blackburn, yeah, they're in a really decent run. Still 2 points inside the playoffs. Looking really, really solid. Preston in 17th. Under Frankie McAvoy, inconsistent as ever, you could really say. But yeah, it will be interesting to see which way this one goes. But I think Blackburn have to be favourites, looking at all things considered. But yeah, it won't be easy in these sort of games, so I'm going to say a 1-0 win. Yeah, but still a great win for Blackburn. But moving on, Blackpool take on Luton at Bloomfield Road. And yeah, this is a big game for Blackpool. Obviously, they haven't been on the greatest run of form recently, as is neither of Luton. Only 1 win for the last 10 when you add both of these sides' last 5 games together, and that was Luton. That was 5 games ago. So yeah, this is a big game for both of these teams to get back on track. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way this one goes. But I can see it kind of just going into a draw. I'm going to say 0-0. But moving on, it's Bristol City who host Derby at Ashton Gate. And as we know, Bristol City have turned Ashton Gate into a bit of a fortress recently after what can only be described as a fairly poor home run up until that win against Barnsley. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way this one goes. But I fancy Bristol City to continue it. Derby, I don't know if they're starting to tire now, but obviously they've been on a really decent run recently, considering the whole circumstances. Obviously unlucky against QPR. But anyway, moving on, Millwall host Birmingham at the Den. Millwall come into this one inconsistent as ever, if we say a lot about a lot of teams. 3 draws, 1 loss and 1 win from the last 5. I think that kind of sums it up. And Birmingham, you could say the same, but coming off the back of a 1-0 win last night, so they'll come into this one with confidence. And yeah, Millwall, they're still 6 points off the place. It's not too late to mount a power charge, but they just lack the consistency. But I do fancy them on this one. I'm going to say a 1-0 win. Moving on then, Forest host Peterborough at the City Ground. And yeah, this is an interesting one. Forest, 4 draws from the last 5 and a win, but unbeaten, still looking strong under Steve Cooper. But Peterborough, their form's really tailed off. We thought maybe, I don't know how long ago it was, a month was, they won 2 or 3 in the trot. We thought they were starting to turn a corner, but it just hasn't quite panned out. And if you look at it for Peterborough now, they're 4 points behind Reading, and they're only there because they had a points deduction, 5 points off Cardiff, and you'd expect them to pull away. It's starting to become concerning. I see Forest getting the better here. But moving on, Reading host Hull at the Medeski Stadium. And yeah, this is a big game. Obviously Hull have 4 wins on the trot. They're looking really good at the moment. Reading, a huge win last time against Swansea, just so it was starting to struggle. So yeah, this is a big game for both of these sides, just to pull away from a relegation zone even further and probably just settle into mid-table mediocrity. But yeah, Hull, if you look at it, they haven't played too many great teams, at least they're away from home in that winning streak, and I just feel like Reading are better than any of those, and I'm going to say a 1-0 Reading win. But moving on, Cardiff host Sheffield United at the Cardiff City Stadium, and this is a really interesting one. Cardiff, obviously they haven't started to improve under Steve Morrison now. Solid win over Luton last time out, probably the best time in the Morrison era. Sheffield United, they've won the last 2 on the trot, so maybe they're starting to pick up now, up to 13th and table, only 7 off the pass. You never know, they could force into it, but I fancy this one being a draw actually. I don't think there's a whole lot to separate the two sides. Moving on for a take on Swansea at the Riverside, and yeah, this is an interesting one. Middlesbrough definitely put in their best performance under Chris Wilder last time out, and really solid 2-1 win over Huddersfield. Swansea obviously a loss to Reading, but before that they've been on a pretty solid run of form, all things considered, and are really starting to find their feet under Russell Martin. So I'm looking forward to this one. It should be a really entertaining game, and I think the two sides will be closely matched. Home advantage, you could say give Middlesbrough the edge, but you know, they've had more time under Russell Martin this one, so I'm going to say it'll be a draw. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on, QPR play Stoke at Loftus Road, and QPR now in third after that dramatic win over Derby last time out. So yeah, they'll see this as an opportunity to close in on the top 2 with Fulham and Bournemouth playing each other, and Stoke obviously just outside the playoff, but this is a really tough one for them, so they just want anything out of it, just to stay in touch with the top 6 and to break in there if any team goes through a bad run of form or anything like that. So yeah, this is an interesting one, but I think QPR will have enough to pick up the victory. I'm going to say a 1-0 win. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. To like, share, subscribe, remember your thoughts, comments down below. Follow me on Twitter and subscribe for daily football news, and subscribe to my channel and screen on there, be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching.